I'm Steve Murphy, and this is the Insider Exclusive. Today we examine the unjust legal quagmire of the case of James Stephens. Stay tuned.
Former Vons employee. A jury awarded him about $18 million stemming from allegations of sexual harassment made against a female Vons supervisor.
James Stephens worked for Vons more than 25 years, stocking shelves, helping people with their groceries. But he says a few years ago, the job he knew for most of his life turned into a nightmare.
I watched it for years before I decided to do something because so many other people complained and were transferred, terminated, or forced to quit.
It's worth him winning, but not $18 million.
If he was sexually harassed, he deserves it.
I'm very pleased to have with us today James Stephens, who we've had on our show before, and his attorney, Ariva Martin. Welcome to the show, Ariva, and welcome back, James.
Thank you. Good to be back.
2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, well, 2.5 years ago, you received a wonderful verdict of almost $18 million, correct?
That is correct, yes.
And it was such a victorious moment, and you really felt justified. And what has happened in the ensuing last 2.5 years?
That's been a process. That verdict was only the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Soon after that, you find out that there's going to be a number of appeals.
Right.
And we're engrossed in this. We're in the second set of appeals right now.
Okay, now the verdict was for exactly what?
It was for a retaliation, wrongful termination as a result of me complaining of sexual harassment.
And to refresh our audience memory on this, you worked for Vons for what, 26 years?
26 years.
And what happened when you were working there?
I was harassed by a young lady who was my superior,
Mm-hmm.
and on a regular basis for at least 2 years.
When you say harassed, what did she do?
She would make sexual remarks that were inappropriate. Since the company had a no-tolerance sexual harassment policy, anything that was inappropriate was not tolerated. I mean, whether it was off-color, whether it was suggestive, we could not do any of that.
So you made a complaint to, what, Human Resources?
Yeah, I complained to Human Resources that this has been going on for a while, and
Yeah.
I would like for it to stop.
And what happened?
They did an investigation, came back and said they could not substantiate any claim, and transferred me.
Transferred you as a result of that?
Yes.
Now, what was the reason why they transferred you? Is it for your protection or what?
The official reason was the other store needed my expertise.
Okay. I do want to point out to our audience that when they transferred you, they transferred you a great distance farther from your home, right?
That's true. And it was also considered a demotion because the store that I went to had less volume and did not need someone like me working there.
Okay. What happened when you got there?
Same thing. The minute I got there, the rumors were started that you were transferred here for harassing someone at the other location.
That you were?
That I was the harasser.
That you were the harasser?
Yes.
Boy, that got switched in a big hurry, didn't
Absolutely, and that shocked me. And in fact, Human Resources said that if I discussed the case, that I would be probably terminated or disciplined.
Tell us, Ariva, what went wrong here? He won, and he can't get his money. What's going on?
What happened in this case, Steve, is very typical. When you have a large jury award of compensatory and punitive awards, and James's award included over $16 million in punitive awards, you're going to see a flurry of motions, post-trial motions, motions for new trial, motions to reduce the damages, and that's what happened in this case. Immediately, the ink wasn't dry on the jury award before there were new trial motions filed by the Vons team.
Now, the status of the appeal is what? Where is it now? And what are the appealable grounds here?
Okay, a couple of things happened after the reduction. Vons actually filed an appeal requesting that the entire punitive damages award be eliminated. They argued that there weren't grounds. There wasn't sufficiently malice.
Yeah,
there wasn't malice in the conduct.
Can I interrupt you?
Sure.
You had a jury of 12 people. you had a jury, a unanimous jury,
Absolutely.
that said the exact opposite of what Vons is saying right now.
Absolutely.
So isn't this kind of a laughable matter if it gets before a judge?
And thank God the appellate court saw it that way. But they argued that the conduct that Vons engaged in was not sufficiently reprehensible. You know, it wasn't really bad conduct. Right. And that was their argument on appeal. And James's argument on appeal was that the punitive damages reduction was not sufficient, it wasn't consistent with the evidence, and that the award, the original punitive damage award, should be reinstated. So the appellate court did two things. It one said to Vons, you guys are wrong. There was clearly reprehensible, malicious conduct in this case, so the punitive damages award stands. But then it said to James, we think the reduction is sufficient. So it did not, at the appellate level, reinstate James's original punitive damages award.
Very pleased to have with us Malik Ali. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. How are you?
I understand you're the co-chairman, along with James, of this new organization called Justice Inc., which is basically promoting your injustice with your case, James, as well as other situations. Tell us a little bit about your organization, Malik.
Well, it's based out of Ventura County, California, with a satellite office in Charlotte, North Carolina, which I run. And what we're doing right now is we want to preserve civil rights by way of legal representation, financial, as well as educational support for the youth and young adults.
So what kind of projects are you getting involved with right now?
Well, we have some situations for as people falsely accused of looking like someone and not actually being that person and getting arrested, later to have it dismissed, but it's still being on their records. Situation of a spouse upset with you and planning stuff on you to get you, in trouble, having to deal with the 2 strikes and 3 strikes law throughout the country. So quite a few cases.
James, when you formed this organization, what are some of the fundamental things that you wanted to achieve in different areas of the law?
One of the things, like Malik mentioned, that we're going to educate. We want to educate the young. They need to be aware of new legislation as well as current laws on the books, because ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Yeah.
And that's where you hear that term is in court, is where you hear it. And also, if you disagree with the laws, try to change it from the inside by getting involved in politics, run for office, and change the laws if you disagree with the laws.
Boy, James, you have come a long way. From working at Bonds to an advocate, God never gives us anything we can't handle, does he?
That's true.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for being on the program. We're going to get the message out, and we're going to bring Ariba back in so that we can do a little final wrap on some of the thoughts on James' case. Thank you. This brings us back now to our final thoughts on this whole, it's seemingly, injustice to you, this quagmire, this where the jury awardeth you a huge justified settlement and the judge took it away. You don't see that too often, do you?
You really don't. And what concerns me, Steve, about this case is the message it sends. Because James had to have an incredible amount of courage to take on the Vons supermarket chain, to complain about a supervisor who he knew was harassing other employees, who he had watched these other employees be disciplined, terminated, and kind of, vanquished for complaining. So here's a little employee taking on big corporate giant, and then this is the message, that even when you win, in trial, you do the right thing, you file a lawsuit, you get the jury of your peers to award you damages, that it doesn't mean anything. And that's a very, very, very difficult message, I think, for people to accept.
Listen, you are a fightery person. You are a real fighter, and I'm glad that you're representing James. So can you hand out your website?
Yes, www.martin-martin.net.
And do you have a telephone number where folks can get a hold of you?
213-388-4747.
Okay. I want to thank you for coming back on the show, James.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Steve.
I hope you win. Thank you for watching. You can get more information about our guest and the issues at insiderexclusive.tv. Come back again.